The $44 billion ghost. The acquisition that wasn't supposed to happen. It started with a tweet, as most of Elon's chaos does. In early 2022, Elon Musk was riding the highest of highs. SpaceX was dominating the stars. Tesla's valuation had defied every legacy auto analyst on Wall Street, and he was undisputed as the world's richest man. But there was a thorn in his side: Twitter. He saw it as the world's digital town square, yet he felt the platform was stifling the very discourse he championed. What began as a passive stake quickly spiraled into a hostile takeover bid. Musk offered $44 billion, a staggering $54.20 per share, to take the company private. At the time, it looked like a bold power move. In reality, it was the first domino to fall in what would become the most expensive, oops, moment in financial history. The trap is sprung. The regret didn't wait for the ink to dry, it arrived with the market crash. Shortly after the offer was accepted, tech stocks plummeted. Suddenly, the $44 billion price tag looked absurd. Twitter's actual valuation was likely half that. Musk tried to back out, citing spam bots and hidden data, but the Twitter board did something he hadn't anticipated. They sued him to force the sale. He wasn't just buying a social media app, he was being legally cornered into overpaying by roughly $20 billion. The man who prided himself on being the smartest guy in the room realized he had signed a seller-friendly contract with no easy exit. He was trapped in a deal that would require him to liquidate massive amounts of his Tesla stock, bleeding his primary empire to fund a platform that was losing millions of dollars every single day. By late 2022, the fun of the Twitter bid had evaporated, replaced by a cold, mathematical nightmare. Elon Musk had made a legally binding offer at the peak of the market, and now, the market was demanding its pound of flesh. To come up with the cash for a company he no longer wanted to buy at that price, Musk had to do the one thing he had promised investors he wouldn't: gut his stake in Tesla. The move sent shockwaves through the financial world. Musk began dumping Tesla shares in massive blocks: $8.5 billion in April, another $6.9 billion in August, and nearly $4 billion more in November. Every time an SEC filing went public showing Musk was selling, Tesla's stock price didn't just dip, it bled. The overpayment admission. In a rare moment of public candor during a Tesla earnings call, Musk didn't mince words. He admitted that he and his company investors were obviously overpaying for Twitter. It was a staggering confession from a man known for his unshakable confidence. He wasn't just buying a business, he was paying a premium of regret to avoid a protracted, losing battle in a Delaware courtroom. The consequences were immediate. Tesla's value plummeted. Tesla's market cap sank by over $125 billion in a single day following the deal's progression. The quicksand effect. Analysts began calling Twitter a quicksand deal. The more Musk struggled to fix it, the deeper he and Tesla's valuation sank. Loss of net worth. Musk's personal fortune, which was almost entirely tied to Tesla's success, took a $30 billion hit nearly overnight as investors fled the perceived key man risk. Musk was effectively burning the furniture of his most successful house to buy a fixer-upper that was already on fire. He was no longer the hunter. He was the one caught in a $44 billion trap of his own making. The moment the keys were finally handed over, Elon Musk didn't arrive with a business plan or a transition team. He arrived with a bathroom sink. On October 26, 2022, Musk tweeted a video of himself lugging a porcelain basin into Twitter's San Francisco headquarters with the punny caption: "Entering Twitter HQ, let that sink in." While the internet laughed at the chief twit meme, the atmosphere inside the building was anything but funny. For the thousands of employees watching from their desks, the sink wasn't a joke, it was a visual metaphor for the everything but the kitchen sink destruction that was about to follow. The first 24 hours, a digital execution. If Musk's entry was a comedy, his first act as owner was a cold-blooded corporate thriller. Within hours of the deal closing, the housecleaning began. The C-suite purge. Musk immediately fired CEO Parag Agrawal, CFO Ned Siegel, and legal head Vijaya Gadde. They weren't just let go, they were reportedly escorted from the building. The code review. In one of the most surreal moments in tech history, Musk ordered Twitter's engineers to print out their recent code on physical paper so his Tesla engineers could review it. If you couldn't prove your worth on paper, your seat was no longer safe. The culture shock, the funereal mood described by staff was punctuated by the sight of Musk's toddler, XAA-12, wandering the halls while billionaire confidants like Jason Calacanis began acting as an unofficial shadow board. Musk wasn't there to learn how Twitter worked, he was there to break it and rebuild it in his own image. But as he sat in the center of the chaos he created, the reality of the $44 billion price tag began to truly sink in. He had bought a company where the talent was fleeing, the advertisers were panicking, and the debt interest alone was now $1 billion annual weight around his neck. Desperate to pay off the massive high-interest debt he'd inherited with the purchase, Musk swung a financial hammer at one of Twitter's most sacred features, the blue checkmark. For years, the blue tick was a symbol of identity verification, a way to know that a celebrity, a brand, or a journalist was actually who they said they were. Musk saw it differently. He called it a lords and peasants system. His solution: democratize it for $8 a month. On November 9, 2022, the new Twitter Blue launched. It was supposed to be a masterstroke of recurring revenue. Instead, it became a billion-dollar prank that Musk likely regrets to this day. The Eli Lilly, free insulin, disaster. The verification for all system immediately broke the platform's trust. Within hours, a user paid $8, changed their handle to @LLillianco, and tweeted 9 simple words. "We are excited to announce insulin is free now." The tweet went viral. Before Twitter's depleted staff could take it down, the real pharmaceutical giant, Eli Lilly, saw its stock price crater by 4%, erasing roughly $15 billion in market cap in a single afternoon. The brand exodus. The fallout was nuclear. It wasn't just Eli Lilly. Trolls impersonated everyone from Nintendo showing Mario in an obscene gesture to Lockheed Martin claiming they were stopping weapons sales. Advertiser panic. Brands realized that for $8, anyone could destroy their reputation. The revenue death spiral. Massive spenders like General Mills, United Airlines, and Pfizer immediately paused their ads. The apology. Musk was forced to halt the $8 program just days after its launch, but the damage was done. Twitter's revenue was 90% dependent on advertising, and in his rush to collect $8 from users, Musk had terrified the companies that were paying him millions. He had tried to disrupt the system, but he ended up disrupting his own bank account. By mid-November 2022, the atmosphere at Twitter wasn't just tense, it was radioactive. Having already slashed 50% of the workforce via a cold, automated email, Musk decided to test the loyalty of those who remained. At 2 a.m., he sent an ultimatum that would become legendary in the annals of corporate mismanagement. He told his remaining staff they needed to be extremely hardcore. To build Twitter 2.0, they had to commit to long hours at high intensity. He gave them a literal yes button to click. If they didn't click it by 5 p.m. the next day, they were out, fired with 3 months severance. The Great Resignation. Musk expected a filtered, dedicated crew. Instead, he got a mass exodus. Hundreds, then over 1,000 employees, many of them critical engineers holding the site's infrastructure together with digital duct tape, chose the exit. The salute emoji. Twitter's internal Slack channels exploded with the salute emoji as entire teams resigned in unison. The lockdown. Panic set in at the executive level. Fearing that disgruntled departing engineers might sabotage the site on their way out, Musk ordered all office buildings closed immediately and suspended badge access. #RIP Twitter. As news of the resignations leaked, the world believed the site was about to crash permanently. The #RIP Twitter began trending on the very platform people thought was dying. The midnight scramble. Musk, realizing he had overplayed his hand and was about to lose the tribal knowledge required to keep the servers running, spent the night desperately trying to convince key engineers to stay. He was no longer the untouchable visionary, he was a man in a crumbling building, begging the architects not to leave. He had bought a $44 billion Ferrari, fired the mechanics, and then told the remaining pit crew they had to sleep on the floor. For the first time, it looked like the world's richest man had finally found a problem he couldn't solve with a tweet or a wire transfer. In July 2023, Elon Musk performed what many brand experts called corporate suicide. With a single tweet and a flickering light projection on the side of his San Francisco headquarters, he killed the blue bird. Twitter, a name so iconic it had become a verb in the global lexicon, was erased and replaced by X. For Musk, this wasn't a mistake, it was the resurrection of a 24-year-old obsession. He had tried to name his first startup, which became PayPal, X.com, back in 1999, only to be ousted by his partners who hated the name. This rebrand was his way of finally winning an old argument. But in the world of high finance, it was a disaster. The branding ghost town. By abandoning the Twitter name, Musk didn't just change a logo, he wiped out between $4 billion and $20 billion in brand equity overnight. The everything app struggle. Musk's vision was to turn X into a Western version of China's WeChat, handling banking, shopping, and social media. However, users weren't eager to trust their bank accounts to a platform that was increasingly known for volatility. The valuation abyss. By late 2024, investment giant Fidelity, which helped Musk buy the company, valued its stake at a staggering 80% discount. This implied that the $44 billion company was now worth just $9 billion. The paradox of 2026. As we stand in 2026, the story has taken a surreal turn. While the platform's direct ad revenue struggled, Musk began financial gymnastics to keep the ship afloat. He tied the success of X to his newest titan, XAI, giving X investors a stake in his artificial intelligence venture. In a dramatic paper recovery, in 2025, some analysts claimed X's valuation had bounced back toward $44 billion, not because the social media site was thriving, but because of its proximity to Musk's AI empire and his growing political influence. The final lesson is it's still Musk's biggest money mistake. If you look at the balance sheet of the social media company alone, yes. He paid $44 billion for an asset that, at its lowest point, was worth less than 25% of that. He spent years fighting advertisers, suing his own lawyers, and alienating his core user base. However, in the world of Elon Musk, mistakes are often just fuel for the next gamble. He may regret the $44 billion price tag, but he has turned X into his personal megaphone, a tool he uses to move markets, influence elections, and recruit for his mission to Mars. It was the most expensive education in history, and the final grade is still being written.